So what was the question again? Oh, why is it called the traffic jam? Well, you know, the reason is, it's because I have two really cool cars. Seriously cool cars. And I love drifting, racing, because I am fast and slick, and plus I like to create a bit of traffic jam myself with a whole lot of great music. Bulumnaka, my name is Real, your host and DJ, right here on the Today FM Traffic Jam, every weekday from 3 p.m. to 7, right here on Today FM, today's hit music.
All the polling venues will be polling, and our focus is to win the election on time. Well, then to choose the right candidate. Especially this time when there's an election.
The FBC 2014 election special. You are number one with us.
Bulavinaka, Fiji, welcome to our special coverage of the 2014 general election. Our coverage begins with a briefing by the Supervisor of Elections, Mohammed Saneem, as polling comes to a close. Shanal Sivan is at the tallying centre. Shanal, what's the latest?
Jackie, we are here at the media center, the main tallying center, where we are waiting for the Supervisor of Elections to address the nation. And as we speak, in the next few seconds, all the polling centers around the country will be closed. Any voter who wishes to vote after 6 p.m. will not be allowed to. We are just waiting for the Supervisor of Elections to make his announcement.
Welcome to the 6 o'clock briefing for Election Day.
Thanks for that update, Shanal. The voting public are happy with the ease at which they cast their votes today. Elections officials were overwhelmed with the morning rush to the polling stations in the Central Division. While there were minimal disruptions, polling on the whole progressed smoothly. Eleanor Tarangavu visited polling centres along the Suva-Nasinu corridor.
By 7 a.m., this was the scene at almost all polling venues. Crowds filled corridors of classrooms, walkways, driveways, footpaths, and flowed into the streets.
We apologise for that. We're going to cross now to the tally centre where our Supervisor of Elections, Mohammed Saneem, is now making a very important announcement. Sorry, due to technical difficulties, we will try to make it back to Shanal Sivan at the tally centre. The voting public are happy with the ease at which they cast their votes today. Elections officials were overwhelmed with the morning rush to the polling centres in the Central Division. While there are minimal disruptions, polling on a whole progressed smoothly. Eleanor Tarangavu visited polling stations along Suva-Nasinu corridor.
By 7 a.m., this was the scene at almost all polling venues. Crowds filled corridors of classrooms, walkways, driveways, footpaths, and flowed into the streets. 8 hours later, around 3 p.m., this is what was left. In some places, there were only a couple of people casting their votes, and at others, only elections officials and police officers were left at polling centres. The long queues witnessed in the morning at the different polling venues have thinned out by now, and voters are trickling in by twos and threes to cast their votes. At a media briefing at 4 p.m, the Supervisor of Elections said this is normal and a surge in voter turnout should be expected near the closing of the polls.
Is, as in Fiji always, there's a big surge in the morning and then there's a surge in the afternoon. If you go around to polling stations at the moment, you will see that they're pretty quiet.
First-time voters and others who have voted before all had the same opinion. The simplicity, ease and efficiency with which they cast their vote was impressive.
Since it was my first time, I think I made the right decision choosing the leader for the nation. And I felt proud choosing for the first time. Voting for the first time.
Voting-wise, it was really fast. It was just in and out. The last time we had to wait quite a while.
I think it's quite simple and straightforward. And as you can see, I think we just spent about less than 5 minutes to cast our vote in.
It's good to be voting again, and we see the country going forward for democracy.
And it's great. I just feel liberated. this is something that I have been looking forward to, and I'm glad it actually happened. Yeah.
It feels very good. I voted for my party there, and the church college was really beautiful, and the way the voting was conducted was very beautiful.
There were also some anomalies encountered, like the mix-up of voter names at Mahatma Gandhi Memorial High School, which resulted in some voters not being able to vote until 10 a.m, and the delay at Tadirua Primary School.
Some people said they've been waiting from about 5:30. And then the place was locked, the gates were locked, and there was nobody from the elections office to tell us, what's going to happen, why the delay, and we were just sort of waiting without really not knowing what's going to happen. And I think people started to get impatient and a bit irritated. And then we were quite shocked when the supervisor of election appeared and climbed onto that thing, and without any hailer, he just tried to announce, what's happening, and that was quite a relief.
However, these anomalies were quickly rectified and voting continued smoothly without delay. Eleanor Turangivio, FBC News.
We're now going to cross live to the Tally Centre, where the Supervisor of Elections, Mohammed Saneem, is making a very important announcement.
The media is permitted to go and photograph in that premises, and as we say, please keep your media tags in handy. That is what will be required. That is also a secure area, and you will be required to comply with the directions of the security forces over there, which is the police. We have also got some more percentage turnouts, some more turnouts from some of the polling stations. These are just provisional. We've done some calls. Earlier I released Wanikoro Public School. Some 187 voters had come out of 250. Vunivutu Primary School in the Northern Division had 260 voters out of 286. In the Civic Center, the 587 out of 764. At Wainimbau Community Hall in the Central Division, all 238 voters attended. In Namoli Community Hall, 728 voters out of 867. Draunivi Public School in the Western Division, 416 voters out of 481. The figure is between 75% to 100%, and we will continue to get these provisional results, and you will be able to make your own inferences from that as we publish it on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the work and the effort put in by the team at the Fijian Elections Office. I also extend a warm appreciation to the Electoral Commission for their support throughout this process, and to all the staff who are still working for us, counting. Thank you very much for putting in all the effort. I also would like to acknowledge the standards that you have put up for all the Fijian people. I have received several positive remarks regarding the professionalism by the staff, and also regarding the manner in which they carried out their responsibilities. Yes, I admit there must have been some ups and downs, but that happens in every organization, except for the FEO is center attention at the moment. So I know all the media is waiting to start asking me about what went wrong there and all this. Let me tell you something, the FEO takes it head on. We might have made some mistakes, but we made sure that we rectified them straight away. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Fijian Elections Office, Vinaka Vakalevu, thank you for all the hard work you've put up. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank all the voters, all Fijians who turned up in numbers to come and vote, who braved the sun, and also stood in all the queues that were there. The Fijian Elections Office will ensure that we assess all the lessons learned in this election, and we'll try and prove better and take it to a higher level in the coming elections. So to all the voters in Fiji, Vinaka Vakalevu as well. So to all the members of the media as well, thank you for your great cooperation in the lead up to the elections. You had your days, and you also made sure the information that went across was accurate and timely, and I'd like to acknowledge all of that and thank you for being very cooperative, and to to ensure that the Fijian people are well informed, and so is the rest of the world. So thank you very much. Vinaka Vakalevu, until 9 o'clock. See you later.
And that was the announcement from the Supervisor of Elections at the Tally Centre, Mr. Mohammed Saneem, just as polling has closed at 6 p.m. And Eleanor is standing by live at the Suva Civic Centre right now. This polling centre recorded the highest turnout for today. Eleanor, have they begun counting at the Civic Centre?
Thank you, Jackie. The first thing I can confirm right now is that voting here at the Civic Centre has closed. A little while ago, the elections officials had taken down all signs in and around the facilities, and also they've closed the doors behind me, indicating the closure of voting here at the Civic Centre. And I cannot, however, confirm if counting has started, as the officials here haven't been able to give me anything official. However, you rightly stated that this is, at the Civic Centre rather, this is one of the polling centres that had the highest number of voter turnouts today. According to the Supervisor of Elections, 767 people were registered to vote here today. And also a little while ago, some members of the Multinational Observer Group, they arrived here and they are inside the facility. To my understanding, they are here to observe the counting this evening, and I can also confirm that security is tight around the facilities, even inside. Police officers are stationed everywhere here.
Thanks so much for that update, Eleanor. In Nandi today, it was more of the same as voters grabbed their chance to cast their ballot, lining up outside polling stations from as early as 6 a.m. Amidst all this were two individuals who say they turned up because they wanted their vote to make a difference and have a say in the formation of the next government. Indra Singh has this story from Nandi.
8 years in the making, and the people of Nandi decided to grab it with both hands and exercise their right to have a say in the election of the next government. Amongst them, a person who could have easily stayed away but says she needed to tick the ballot paper to have her voice heard.
Because I think of my Fiji and my grandchildren's future. That's why I come for vote today.
Lewatu says the excitement she felt about the 2014 edition of the elections was one which was a far contrast to the ones held previously.
I was excited this morning. I asked my son-in-law in the afternoon, what time are we going to vote? He told me that 7:15. By 6 o'clock, I was in the bathroom having my shower, had a cup of tea. I was ready before him, then I woke him up, and then that's why we came up here.
There was an air of excitement in polling centres around Nandi today, and the process and the work done by the election officials has been given the thumbs up.
First time in Fiji I've been through this. Past few years I've been vote, but this year's voting system is very true and fine.
Dayal has also echoed the sentiments of others, saying his vote will decide the future of this country he calls home.
I want to be a good government, and government who make us free life and put this country forward in nice way.
This is what Nandi has been like during the voting period from this morning up until about 6 p.m. A lot of people turning up early to cast their votes and wait for the results to come out in the next 24 odd hours. What will happen? Who will win? Where will their votes go to? Are some of the questions that people who have casted their votes have been talking about at every polling centre that we've been in Nandi. Now the wait for counting begins for Lewatu and Dayal. Only they will know after the results are announced whether their votes did make a difference. Indra Singh, FBC News.
And Indra joins us now live from the Nandi Muslim School. Indra, has polling ended at Nandi Muslim?
Thank you very much, Jackie. Welcome from the Nandi Muslim Primary School. Behind us, they are ready to go. Ready to go in the sense that the counting after the whole day of polling here that started at 7:30 a.m. this morning up until 6 p.m. The big story is we had one voter who did turn up about 2 minutes past 6 and was turned away. The presiding officer stayed true to his word and said 6 p.m. the elections is over. It's now into the counting phase. We've had 3 or up to 4 people who have finished their last voters, we could say, who have walked out and just walking away along that side, going off home. But the counting is about to begin here at the Nandi Muslim Primary School. This was one of the areas, one of the polling stations that drew a huge crowd during the morning when we made our rounds here covering the elections, and there were a number of people right over here, they were all around here who were ready to cast their vote and to make a say and have a say in the election of the new government. There's not many people who are gathered here as yet to wait the outcome of the counting that will take place, but they might be in later on. Tight security, the elections officials have closed the main gate and they are all ready to go. We'll be back later on this evening with the breaking news and coverages from around Nandi. Back to you, Jackie.
Thanks so much for that update, Indra. The 2014 elections weren't confined to any one group of people, as everyone was involved in some way in the Western Division. While many were fortunate to bring themselves to the voting centres and cast their votes, there were others who did need help. In particular, the elderly and those needing help were also part of the latest elections, just like in previous years. The tiny tots also didn't escape the election fever as they tagged along, despite not knowing much of what was happening. Meanwhile, some members of the multinational observer group were also present in Nandi. Still in the West, our reporter Ako Sitatale has been visiting the polling centre in the Western Division. Ako, how are things looking?
Thanks, Jackie. The FBC News team visited, left for polling stations as early as 5:30 a.m. this morning, and where 177 polling stations were open to residents in the Western Division. By 6 a.m., by the time FBC News had moved from Nandi to Ba, there were people walking on the main highway under the scorching heat, and by that time, half of the residents or half of the registered voters had already queued up to these registered polling stations. Jackie, on our way back to the main office in Nandi, we spoke to some of the residents where they had mentioned that they're all waiting now for the results after they have cast their vote. And this afternoon, most families had spent their afternoon with loved ones at the beach or sitting at a grog bowl, or even as they had mentioned that they will now just wait for the results. Back to you, Jackie.
Thanks so much for that update, Ako. We'll take a short break now and return with more coverage of the 2014 elections. Stay with us.
All the polling venues will be polling, and our focus is to win the election on time by them to choose the right candidate. Especially this time when there's an election.
The FBC 2014 election special. You are number one with us.
Bula FM nambang dua na serena iwan siningaw na ni Batara ni sibiti ko weekend na diwa en na tini na miniti na may pakuriti ora beng rabi na nantang nonongo kanda na dapat ko anin rona kaloko en ay kamen den debo bili na tay wali ni may dapat ko na wani matakabo kan lib sarti ko na biser talio ni na namaka do batat ko may kina na kenan daw ro ko di kanamaki Bula binaka ayo salamilawa do batak kiya wana Batara na wani vio na kaloko moni tiki na barumbuka en ang Bula FM nambang dua en na serena
Great words there from Lucky Dube and Babana. Hope you enjoyed that number. Different colors just for you. On Gold FM, only the classic hits. Louise with you on the Center Show. Well, thank you so much for the sweet company. This is Anomalies, one of my favorites, and Black Velvet for you. Hi there. Join me on the Center Show every weekday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the best sounds on Gold FM. Only the classic hits.
All the polling venues will be polling, and our focus is to win the election on time by them to choose the right candidate. Especially this time when there's an election.
The FBC 2014 election special. You are number one with us.
Welcome back to FBC's 2014 General Election Special Bulletin. Our news team visited polling centres between Lami to Pacific Harbour. Shireen Lata reports some voters had minor issues which were sorted by presiding officers, but overall, polling went smoothly.
At around 10 a.m., we reached the art village in Pacific Harbour, catching up with some first-time voters.
It's great. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Yep, it was good.
From Pacific Harbour, our team moved to Navua. Here at Rampur College in Navua, some of the voters were not satisfied with the arrangements done by the presiding officers. Some of the voters told FBC News that the presiding officers were not that helpful in terms of assisting those who were finding difficulty in voting.
When I went to the polling booth, I was told that I have to go to the other booth. You know, it's so frustrating when you go in the same line, stand in the line for hours, and when you reach the booth, the polling booth, you are told to move to the other line.
We didn't expect her to go on. We expect to be just to introduce the card. Unfortunately, that wasn't happen. We need to go to a surname according to the...
Muhammad Irshad, who has already voted in 3 elections, described how process this time around was so different from previous elections.
I'd seen the instruction voter. It was given to me, so I went inside. After that, they were given me a paper. I went and I just made a circle, drop, and I came home.
We then took off to Lombo village, where 62-year-old Ambarama Matandangi had just come out of the polling booth. His visual impairment didn't create any problems.
Since I'm blind, I just went by myself to the polling station with the help of my walking stick. And I'm really happy today because it's the first time we are voting in a different way.
15 minutes drive from Lombo village, we came to Kalokolevu village. Most of the villagers had already voted and were enjoying the public holiday with their families.
Usually any other day I'd be at work right now. But since it's a holiday, we have to vote. After the voting, this is what I'm going to do. Just hang around home, relaxing, enjoying the day off.
By midday, most of the voters in Lemi had already voted. A handful was slowly trickling in at Marist Convent School. Our last stop for today was at Suvavo village in Lemi. People here shared their opinions on what they expect from the future government.
Better pay, reducing VAT.
Government who's going to lead Fiji in the future. I want better education.
I expect them to just like their promises because we have voted for them.
Voting ended at 6 p.m. this evening. Sharin Lata, FBC News.
Police are questioning a 52-year-old farmer of Korotolotolo Senganga about an alleged breach of the Electoral Decree 2014. It's alleged that the farmer took a voter instruction booklet given to him by an assistant presiding officer and threw it on the floor before uttering negative comments. The incident allegedly occurred at the Korotolotolo polling station this morning. ACP Rusiate Tundravu says police will initially investigate the matter, then refer it to FICAC for a further investigation. And the election proved too much for one presiding officer who suffered a heart attack earlier today. Supervisor of Elections Mohammed Sanim, in a briefing earlier in the day, confirmed the official was rushed to the hospital. He is in a stable condition. Sanim says a replacement election official was deployed to the polling station. Young and first-time voters make up a large chunk of the voting population in this election. Their eagerness to be part of the process was evident in the large number of youths lining up to vote at various centres around Fiji. Rohit Deo has more.
This is the first elections in which 18-year-olds have the opportunity to vote. And from what we saw, it didn't go to waste. At every polling station, youth stood in line waiting for their chance to vote. We spoke to some first-time voters who say they were excited to vote for the first time.
At first I was nervous, but then I did well. I voted.
It was very exciting because it was the first time for me to vote. A lot of us, first time for us to vote. And we went inside a lot of process, like first time to encounter such process, and it was good.
It was an easy process. Everything went smoothly. I just went in there half an hour, I came back out, so it was easy. It was arranged and it was okay.
Voting for the first time means that these youth have little experience of what it was like queuing up in previous elections. With majority registered voters being youths in the country, it was clearly visible in polling stations that the youths came out to make their votes count. A lot of youth voters we spoke to told us that the next government, whoever sits in parliament, the youths want them to create more employment opportunities for them.
I would like them to provide more employment opportunities for us youth
I hope that they bring Fiji to a higher standing than what it is today.
With polling now closed, everyone's attention turns to the counting of votes now underway at the National Tallying Centre. Rohit Deo, FBC News.
President Ratu Epeli Nailatikau and Prime Minister Vorengem Bainimarama cast their vote in Suva today. Ratu Epeli was registered at Dryamba Primary School and he stood in line like any other voter before getting his chance to vote. The Prime Minister cast his vote at Vatuanga Primary School. Afterwards, he took some questions from local and international media, saying the voting process is quite easy.
Really fast, and I think the supervisor of election and the electoral commission has done a wonderful job in getting us to come and vote today, especially the pre-polls. You know, this is the first time we've had pre-polls. This is the first time we had first one-day election, so it's gone fairly well. Exceedingly well, I think. And all those people should be congratulated.
People's Democratic Party leader Felix Anthony says he's happy with the voting process after casting his vote in Lautoka today. It took him less than an hour to line up at the Tilak High School to cast his vote along with his wife and 2 children. With voting done and completed, he says they will now wait for the tallying of votes to determine the new leader of the government.
Today, I think, is a great day for the country. It certainly feels good to be voting once again after 8 long years, and we certainly hope that people will come out to vote, and I think we will see a good turnout today, and of course have their say in who should be in government come the end of the week.
And we'll return with more coverage of the 2014 election after the break. Stay with us.
All the polling venues will be polling, and our focus is to win the election and recommend them to choose the right candidate. Especially this time when there's an election.
The FBC 2014 election special. You are number 1 with us.
मेरा चांद मुझे आया है नजर, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर. छाया है नशा मेरे आंखों पर, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर. रह जाए ना प्यासा मेरा प्यार, मेरे बाहों में भर दे मेरा यार, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर. हाय मिर्ची एफएम पर मैं हूं जितेन शांडिल. शामिल हो जाएगा हमारे साथ टुनाइट शो में मंडे टू फ्राइडे फ्रॉम 7 PM to 12 AM. मिर्ची एफएम इट्स
देश की धड़कन वेरीफिकेटिव का प्रसारण कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत हम कर रहे हैं. सुंदर ये मौसम और ऐसे मौसम बहार में आप भी कार्यक्रम का आनंद उठा रहे हैं, आपको शामिल कर रहे हैं और साथ में
गुड मॉर्निंग आपको हम कहना चाहेंगे. अगर www.fbc.com.fj पर आप हमें सुन रहे हैं, हम सफर प्रोग्राम आपके लिए जारी है. सुबह 9 बजे तक हम आपका साथ देंगे. गुड मॉर्निंग आपको.
अपने दिन की शुरुआत हमारे साथ कीजिए. रेडियो पीजीटी पर हम सफर प्रोग्राम हर सुबह 6 से 9 बजे तक. जॉइन अस.
Polling venues will be polling, and our focus is to win the election and recommend them to choose the right candidate. Especially this time when there's an election.
The FBC 2014 election special. You are number 1 with us.
Welcome back to FBC's 2014 General Election Special Bulletin. The Media Industry Development Authority has hit out at some international media for their line of questioning while polling was still open earlier today. MIDA Chair Ashwin Raj says questions and interviews should not have political content.
It shouldn't take the Prime Minister of the country to remind the international media to not pursue a certain line of inquiry which is in breach of Section 118. We are very clear that in the blackout period, the media is required to report on the administrative elements of the elections and not on the political nature of things.
Raj adds reporters, local or international, should not try and preempt the election results.
Of course, the media is free to report on any irregularities. Having said so, I also want to send a very strong message both to the local and the international media to please not preempt the outcome of the elections. We're 3 hours away from the close of polling, and so let's wait and see.
People from all walks of life lined up at polling centres all over Tailevu today to cast their votes. Savaira Tambua visited some of the centres where people turned up even before polling began at 7:30 a.m.
Wisama Sanatan Durham Primary School was the first polling station visited by FBC News this morning. This couple really got into the spirit of things, turning up to vote in matching attire.
We were happy about the polling process this morning.
The three co-leaders of MOG were at the school watching Fijians cast their vote and looking at the electoral process inside polling centres. Co-lead Peter Reith of Australia says voters seemed enthusiastic and it's a good sign for at the start of polling.
It's a pretty positive response that we've seen from the Fijian people.
At the Vudi Methodist Primary School, election staff even helped to look after one voter's child as she entered the polling booth. Sanjashni Devi had no issues in casting her vote.
They help us, we did our voting, now finished voting, going home.
Vudi Methodist Primary School has catered for a large number of voters as they believe this election will shape the destiny of our nation.
We were happy about the polling process this morning.
Evia Velua of Veratawailevu village in Osori couldn't hold back her tears after voting, saying she doesn't know if she'll be around for the next elections.
I am really fortunate to be a part of this election, since I don't know if I'll still be alive in the next election.
Some people could be seen drinking cover after voting. Others were selling food puzzles. By mid-afternoon, most of the lines at polling centres had reduced because most voters turned up early. Savaira Tambua, FBC News.
Hundreds gathered at a small farming community in Vitongo Lautoka this morning to cast their votes. There was visible police presence at this polling station as people queued up in numbers. With many residents leaving home by 5 a.m, it took less than an hour to get their fingers inked. Residents in this small farming community say they will now wait for the results. And on that note, that's our bulletin for tonight. You can join our team at 7 p.m. for more coverage of the elections. We will have studio guests, interviews and reports from the Counting and Tallying Centre in a special program hosted by Edwin Nund. In the meantime, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos of the election on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via Facebook page FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC News or at FBC_TV or simply hashtag FBC News. That's it from me for tonight. Good evening.
All the polling venues will be polling, and our focus is to win the election and recommend them to choose the right candidate. Especially this time when there's an election.
The FBC 2014 election special. You are number one with us.
Ni sa bulu bina kana turna kini marama ni bulu bina kana dolu bau kini mone lewa. Ni sa bulu bina kana mone. En go talem no no ni wawe katalau ena mataka ena dai.
En vindelana mai nei tasiri.
No bulu maleka go ni melote nai sorta boa.
En lomo ni vonua mai sanganga.
Ni bulu go Samuel Samli. Na no tanga ni wawe katalau ena radio Fijuan nandomo evitina vonga ni venu. Mai no kini diwa ena bi mataka moni tikina pagruka. Ni kai namaka.
Hey, how's it going, VG? You're the afternoon step with Josie. And of course, I've got more good hits lined up for you, so stay tuned for that. But right now, check this song out, man. It's Golden City coming at you, doing Amity K, Ready for Your Love, right here on Today FM.